Welcome to Screen Riot, the show where we let fate choose the movie we review. This week's movie is the 1970 war drama Patton. This episode will contain major spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, it's available to rent or buy on iTunes, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and more for $2.99. Go check it out and come back to the podcast because this is Screen Riot.
So welcome back to another great episode of Screen Riot. We're here with John, Kyle, Eddie, and Justin, myself. Real quick, if you're liking the podcast, make sure you go to Apple Podcast and like us and subscribe us so you hear all of our awesome shows because we're awesome and all that. If you like the show, also make sure you leave a review because we really enjoy that too. Give us 5 stars. Why not?
Give us 5
or 10. What's Apple Podcast?
I think it's 5.
Whatever the max is.
Out of 5 stars.
Give us the max. Yeah.
Give us the max.
Yeah. I also want to make a quick shout out real quick. We only have after this episode, we only have 2 more to go. But we wanted to do a wrap up of this season, so 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, it's this one and the next one, and then a wrap up show.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to do something special where we want all of our listeners to submit some movies that they would like us to review on their behalf. So we'll be taking submissions up until December 11th. At 10 p.m. is going to be the cutoff.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So we'd like you to submit up to 3 movies each. You can go to our Facebook page and just leave a review there or do the submission there. Or you can go to our website, AmericanPodcasting.net, and then go to the Contact Us and make sure you select Screen Riot, and then you can submit the 3 submissions there as well.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is the show right before the wrap-up show, we'll put all of the submissions on the wheel, that will spin it, and whoever's it lands on.
Now there's going to be some duplicates. I know that for sure.
Probably,
but I'm assuming whoever actually posted it first, and if it lands on that movie, then
they'll get the credit.
Yeah, you get the credit.
Yeah. So we'll announce the winner in the movie, and if your movie is picked, you get a free Screen Riot T-shirt.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll contact you through Facebook, find out what size you want, and then order it for you.
Yeah.
Yay.
And then that episode will air on December 19th.
Yeah. That'll be
so cool. That'll be
season
fun.
ending. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, this week's movie, like John said, is Patton from 1970, starring George C. Scott. And so, John, this was war? Was that your genre?
War.
Right?
War.
You want to give a brief synopsis, or do you have that up, or?
I have one.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, it starts in
1492.
1492 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
I feel like I watched a different movie, John.
You didn't watch Master and Commander?
Well,
no.
I mean, Patton was probably there.
He was reincarnated.
That's true. He was reincarnated.
That's right. He was Columbus.
Yep.
At some point.
No, the movie starts in 1942 in North Africa when then 2-star General George S. Patton was promoted to 3-star general and brought in as the best tank commander in the U.S. Army to assist British General Montgomery in defeating the Nazi General Rommel.
Right.
Desert Fox.
Fox, yeah.
And it goes through Patton's wartime victories and personal behaviors and personal and professional defeats. We find out that he's a prima donna, nearly completely self-absorbed and focused on winning at all costs. He believes in reincarnation and thus believes he was present at nearly all major wars of the past. He is said to be an 18th century man stuck in the 20th century.
Do you know who he specifically thought he was reincarnated from?
Who?
Hannibal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Hannibal,
Okay. Carthaginian?
Yeah, something like that. That guy. Hannibal, the Hannibal's at the gates, the Hannibal, the barbarian, that guy.
Right.
Yeah, he thought that he was him, reincarnated, which
he
that's interesting.
believed that he was on his 6th reincarnation.
Yeah.
And since the cavemen.
Wow.
Oh.
And in every this isn't just for the movie. This is a real life.
Yeah, this is real life stuff.
Yeah.
This guy was really this crazy.
He thought that he was
real dude.
reincarnated and he was a soldier in each reincarnation. So from cavemen to the Roman Empire to now, he's
Well,
always been.
It definitely came out during the movie when he was like, "I can smell a battlefield."
Yep.
What he kept visiting, like old sites, like
old
especially
battlefields.
Was it Greece? He went to Greece and all that. Like he was, he kept visiting those old sites. So I just think I thought that was a cool part of the movie in general. Like I kind of like seeing a little more of who he was, I guess, at least through their interpretation of who he was.
Right.
Well,
I'm sure he wasn't exactly like the movie portrays, but pretty close.
Yeah, he was more. He was definitely more gruff.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, and this is my all-time favorite war movie that isn't a war movie. It's a biography of Patton disguised as a war movie,
I agree with that. Yeah.
right?
Definitely some battle scenes.
And I do love it because of its historical factuality. It's not only based off of a lot of Patton's writings, but also General Omar Bradley's firsthand accounts.
Okay.
And General Bradley was also a consultant on the film.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's pretty cool. The piece. Okay, so talking about this being a war film real fast, John, there were a couple of things that threw me about that. Like, I've seen, I think, roughly half of this movie before, and then I stopped because it's just so damn long. So this time I forced myself to sit the whole 3 hours, and I enjoyed it overall. I enjoyed it. But there was some stuff that kind of put me off. Like, there's the one scene, I forget who he's meeting with. It's one of the British guys, and it's him, Bradley, and the British guy, and they're in
Montgomery?
I think it was
not
Montgomery.
I don't think it's Montgomery. It's the guy who was in charge of the Air Force.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I forget
And-
the guy's name, but yeah.
And he's
Sir Malcolm.
There you go. And he's like, you're not going to see any more German planes. And then right then they get attacked by the German planes.
Right.
And they end up diving under this table, and Patton delivers a one-liner. He's like, Sir Malcolm, I believe you were talking about the supremacy of the British Air Force. And I'm like, waka waka. Like, it just doesn't,
I thought it was fitting because
I didn't have a problem with it.
I thought it was fun.
It was like perfect timing because it was like
yeah.
right place, right time.
Well, if he actually delivered it, like you're saying Bradley was a consultant, if he actually did that, I guess I have to be fine with it. But it just seemed like I was expecting it to be more serious than that. And that seemed very lighthearted. It took me into like a Benny Hill type situation. Like it started to feel a little bit like, like it just didn't feel quite as serious as them being attacked by German planes. I mean, like, people are like, there's shit blowing up, people are getting shot and stuff, and then you have him delivering a one-liner under the table.
Yeah, but you also see too, like, Patton is not phased by explosions or bullets flying through the room. He's super cool and he's collected and everything, and so of course he's going to actually say kind of cheesy one-liners or something like that, just because it's like, hey, it's just another day in paradise, right?
No, yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. If he actually did it, I have to be okay with it. That one part took me out a little because that seemed like a part where they could have gotten it more into the war, and they sort of took a step back instead.
Well, and one thing that I found with this movie, doing a deep dive into it, is that a lot of what happens did not actually happen that way.
Oh.
It may have happened, like, it's completely plausible that he could have said that line at another point in time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then just intercut it.
Right, and they just intercut it because they wanted to show him shooting his 6-shooter at the two German planes.
Oh, Jack Nicholson Joker.
Exactly,
scene.
thinking that he's going to be able to take him down. Right, so, and especially with the iconic scene at the beginning where he gives his speech in front of the flag.
Yeah, that threw me off too.
And actually, the director, Franklin Schaefer, told George C. Scott, who plays Patton, that scene was not going to go at the beginning of the film because George C. Scott said, after I do that, I'm going to be playing catch-up the rest of the film. I'm not going to be able to live up to that scene. And so Schaefer lied to him. He said, no, it's going to come it's going to come somewhere in the middle of the movie. And then he ended up putting it at the beginning. And that speech was actually a conglomeration of other speeches that he had given. So he didn't actually give that particular speech verbatim.
Right. It was truncated.
And it's interesting you say that because I read that too. The director said it's going to come at the end. And when you see Patton standing in front of that flag, he has 3 stars on his helmet.
Stars.
4 stars, sorry.
Yeah, that threw me because I was like, so he's starting out with 4 stars. And then they jump into it and it's like, Okay, now he has 2 again.
Yeah.
Okay, so this
that
happened
threw me
before
too.
that.
Yeah.
When the hell did that speech take place then? When was it supposed to have taken place?
Yeah, so that makes sense if the director told him that, well, okay, well, we have to set it up to make it look like, well, now he's a 4-star general at the end of the movie.
I mean, I just watched it yesterday, and it's kind of sad, but did he talk about the Nazis at that point?
Yes.
Yeah, he talked about going to war. He said, it's
killing
weird.
Nazis.
Said something about. I believe he said something about killing those Nazi bastards or something.
Yeah,
because I just thought that he said to kill your enemy.
He might have been enemy
because it could have been just obviously
he says Hun a lot.
Yeah, he does say Hun.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I would say that it was fine where it was, just because it's like this is where he ended up being this very decorated general. And this is how he got there.
Yeah.
Scene.
It's just a weird time thing.
Yeah, and there was another interesting thing about that scene. All of those medals and regalia that he had on, they weren't Patton's actual medals.
Yeah, but they were
correct. They were correct, and the placements were correct. And he never, in real life, wore all the medals at once like that. He would wear them for specific purposes.
Well, it is a big
at the event, right? at the event he was going to, whichever ones he felt were appropriate, he would put on. But he did, based on one picture that his wife wanted to do in the backyard. He put everything on, and that's what he looked like, and that's what they based that uniform off of.
That's because another thing I noticed with his uniform, like out in parades and stuff like that, he wore 2 6-shooters. Like it was like double wielding 6-shooters, But in every picture that I've seen of him, like in actual, I didn't see him in actual parades, like pictures of parades or anything. But when he's talking to other commanders, he only has 1 on. But I thought it was pretty interesting when he was about to go into battle to defeat the Desert Fox, Rommel. He was like, "Wait, before I put on my belt." He put in another pistol in his belt just in case. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." He's actually packing 3 guns on himself.
When he's packing 3, and again, not to knock the actual guy,
right?
But he's packing 3 fairly useless guns for the type of war they were fighting.
Sure.
I mean, he's packing
revolvers. Well, the 2 were revolvers, but the one that was in his belt in the front was a semi-automatic, whatever. It was not a 1911.
No, it's a Browning something.
Yeah.
But I mean, what got me about it was, I mean, he's carrying like 14. He's probably carrying a total of let's say 22 bullets.
Sure.
Against machine guns and tanks and
everything else. Well, I mean,
general. Well, if they get to the general.
It's over anyway.
That's the last. The last resort. He's just the last bullets for himself.
No,
probably.
But at the same time, we see him pull the guns and fire at the planes that are there. So,
but he didn't pull the 6-shooters to do that, did he?
No, he pulled the one on the chest. The chest holster. Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, I completely forgot about this, and I should have mentioned it. But thanks for bringing up the 6-shooters. The 6-shooters that he's wearing in that scene at the beginning were General Patton's actual. Ivory handled pistols.
That's cool.
Really?
Yeah, that's the only time that they were worn in the film. But yeah, they were his actual pistols that his wife.
No, so George C. Scott took them and smashed them on the ground because he was told that they weren't the real ones. And then,
yeah.
Like the guitar
and Hateful Eight.
Yeah, Hateful Eight though.
There's a good Western, by the way. Maybe I'll do Hateful Eight. That's a good one. Of course, we've all seen it, so never mind.
No, I love that movie.
Yeah, definitely not now.
But I'll trash it just because you picked it.
Thanks.
But I mean, talking about funny stuff, I really like, and I could totally see this happening. I really liked when General Bradley lost his helmet during a battle and had to put on another helmet, and it didn't have the 3 stars on it.
Funny.
And another soldier comes running up to where Bradley was, didn't see him as the general, and it's like, what SOB is in charge of this operation? And Bradley goes, I don't know, but they ought to hang him.
Yeah.
Bradley was one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Right. Mine too.
And I think it was. So I don't like pretentious people that much. I find them to be irritating. And to me, Patton, at least the way George C. Scott played him, was very pretentious. He was a prima donna. He was a bitch, in my opinion. Like the media whore aspect of him was bad. Now, was he a great general and everything? Yes. Did he have huge military strategy? Absolutely. I'm not questioning that. But that whole some of the military strategy was kind of interestingly decided upon. If the movie's correct, right? he was making decisions based on what would make him look better.
Right.
Yes.
It was very vain.
It was very vain. That kind of sucks. Bradley didn't do any of that.
And what's
and
kind
I
of
appreciated
interesting,
that.
yeah, what's kind of interesting though is the U.S. military actually used that as an advantage.
I found that interesting too. Yeah,
You know,
again,
'cause
if that's true,
since he was so wild,
that is actually true.
Since he was so wild, then he was like, okay, well, the Nazis are actually planning on his strategy.
Yeah.
So let's use his strategy elsewhere, thinking that okay, let's detour all the Nazis up here,
Yeah.
and then we will go and attack the South or something like that. Right?
It's a double bluff.
Yeah, it's
well, and what I found interesting about that in particular when I was watching it was that for some reason, other than his own vanity, is the only or pride, I should say, is the only thing I can come up with. But Patton couldn't see why Eisenhower was telling him to do what he was telling him to do, and it's like you would think that Patton would be able to step out of it for a second and go, okay, so Eichmann wants me to do this, and he wants me to do this.
What's the military strategy behind
What's the military strategy behind
right.
exactly? Because it's not very hard to understand. I mean, you're using the assumptions of the enemy against them.
Right.
That's easy.
But Patton, the reason that he got so upset, and Patton says it at some point in the film, I forget what exactly he says it, but he's like, this is the last
Great War
of a lifetime, and I'm going to be out of it. And that's what he was afraid of. He was afraid that the war was going to end, and he wasn't going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because ultimately he wanted to go and defeat
Russia.
Hitler. Well, he wanted to defeat Hitler and then
go over to the Pacific.
and fight Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then because MacArthur didn't want him over there, he's like, well, let me go take Russia.
Yeah.
Right. Those Russian commies.
Right.
Yeah, that was something too. I read about because I actually looked up a little bit of history just on Patton, not the movie, but the guy and his anti-Semitism, and like apparently he was kind of known to be a little bit racist about everything else, and he didn't want to fight Hitler. Really, he didn't want to. He wanted to fight. He thought that America should actually be teaming up with the Nazis to fight Russia. And he's like, we're fighting the wrong enemy.
Huh.
He's like, but we're fighting them, so I'm going to fight them. And it's like, well, okay, but I mean that can't be good for your history. You know what I mean? Like, what's your last name? Patton. Oh man, it's a great guy. You know, et cetera, et cetera. He was actually a Nazi sympathizer. Oh.
And there's
in that case.
But see, I think also, and I don't know this for a fact at all. I have no factual basis on it.
Perfect.
But I think he would have been willing to, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes.
So I feel Russia is more of a threat.
Yeah.
Let's go get Russia. We're gonna pull back, and then we're gonna turn on the Nazi.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get them too.
Well, that's the whole scene at the end, whenever he's spitting in the face of the Russians, and he said, what does he say? He's like telling him he's a dirty asshole or something like that. He calls him something.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
son of
Yeah,
a
he's
bitch,
like,
yeah.
he told him he's a son of a bitch. He really didn't like the Russians. Like,
No.
he was completely anti-communist. So the fact that they were what they were, he was very much against them. So apparently, like, he just, looking at the world, like, who are we going to fight next? He just thought Russia would be the number one pick.
Yeah.
well, and they were because of the Cold War.
That was after all that.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
He has
He was
that
about
phone
right.
call. I forget. He was talking to somebody higher up, but he's like, "We should be fighting the Russians. We're gonna be fighting them anyway. Let's do it while we have all the men and the gear and the tanks all here anyway."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did he say? Something like, I can be in Moscow in 10 days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
or something.
And if that's true, if that conversation really happened, he had the foresight that the Cold War was going to happen. In 10
General
years.
Bradley looked kind of like if this was remade or something like that, John C. Reilly could probably play Bradley.
You're probably
Yeah.
right.
He
I mean,
looks-
that would be weird.
It's not
but yes.
hard.
Yeah, and he'd be Dr. Steve Brule.
Dr. Steve
as,
Brule
as General Bradley. I'm a general too. So
Yeah, I got a helmet too.
I got 3 stars too.
It's not hard. I mean, we took Russia, but whatever. God.
But I just like looking at some screenshots of this movie, and I was like, "Holy crap! That looks like John C. Reilly."
That's awesome.
Well, does anybody else have any scenes that really stuck out to them about the movie?
I do have another problem with it, but it's a small one. It's
Okay,
a
what's
small
the problem?
issue.
Yeah.
I have a small problem with it too. Let's see if it's the same.
Well, you
Okay.
tell me yours. Go ahead.
Mine is some wonky ass camera work.
Okay, there's that.
Oh my
I
God.
guess I have more than
In
one
the
problem.
church,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, and, huh?
Which in particular?
It
I'm
was
trying to-
it was in the church when Patton is on his knees praying.
yeah, everything's
And-
handheld.
And, everything's handheld in that entire scene. and especially when the camera is
95
up
pounds
in the back, up in
Right.
the balcony in the back of the church. You see the mural on the ceiling,
Yeah.
and the camera goes back and forth and up and down, and it goes down to pans down to
It's bad.
to Patton, and I'm like, the only thing that I could think of is like they accidentally hit record.
Yeah.
And they needed some as they were setting up the camera,
B-roll.
and they needed some B-roll in that particular scene.
Huh, somehow I missed that.
That might have been it.
Or
'Cause
maybe the second unit director was sick and the photographer was sick, so they
somebody literally forgot the tripod. So they're
I
like,
mean-
you know what? Let's shoot
just
it.
shoot it.
You have to show me that because I can't remember that.
Oh,
I
man,
believe it was the church in Messina, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was. Yeah.
See, my thing was specifically because I guess I have more than one issue because the camera thing. There was a couple of scenes where the camera works not ideal. The makeup on George C. Scott in some scenes was so heavy that it looked laughable. It just didn't look natural.
I didn't
It
really
looked
notice the
very
makeup.
fake.
Well-
His eyebrows in particular.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention.
From my understanding, George C. Scott was not the most healthy
Well,
person. Like
look-
he wasn't.
look at his teeth.
Like he wasn't.
Oh, I know,
He
right?
wasn't
Oh, yeah.
sickly, but I
Yeah.
mean, he was a drinker
Yeah.
and all that. So I mean, I imagine he looked kind of ragged most days.
Well, there was just a couple of scenes where it looked like they took and pasted his eyebrows on with like Elmer's glue, and I'm like,
I didn't really notice that.
I'm like, that just doesn't look good.
yeah, because they looked white.
They looked
and then
white.
and then his skin above it was tan.
Yeah,
Oh.
it
Yeah.
just looked really bad. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not good. And the difference is Bradley looks completely natural in the entire film. Now, the flip side is he probably was completely natural with no makeup the entire film.
It's possible,
But
yeah.
then just let George C. Scott do that. Just let him rock the white hair. The white hair looked fine the whole movie, but without the eyebrows. Because the eyebrows are just so bushy and fake looking that it's like, I don't know. And the real bitch is, if those really are his eyebrows, he's got a problem. He's got a real problem, guys. Like, I don't even know if they are his real eyebrows. The other thing I had an issue with, and this is more just late 60s, early 70s war movies in general. A lot of them have this problem. The war scenes felt very staged, like very
yes,
staged.
yes.
Yeah.
And there were a couple, like him directing Traffic
Yes.
looked great. I was like, that looks awesome. You could put that in that one scene. You could put into a movie today if you were to reshoot Patton
Yes.
and remake it. You could take that scene, drop it right in there, and no one would question it. But almost every war scene, somebody would have a problem. Like you guys were bringing up him shooting on the planes. To me, they fucked that scene up because the guns, the bullets are hitting the sand directly in front of him.
There's one that hits like right in between his
Right in between
feet.
his feet.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, the chance that he's not shot right now, slim to none.
Very
Slim to none. Like
very slim, yeah.
Very slim. Typically, when you're going to do that shot, that iconic, the plane is shooting and it's going to, the person's going to split
it
the
goes
shot.
around them.
It goes around them.
Yeah.
Right.
This
not
like
in between their legs.
this goes right into him, and I'm like,
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I don't believe that he would make it out of that one alive. So
Right.
Patton dies in the first 15 minutes, is what you're saying.
Well, what did Bradley say? He goes, "We need a commander, not a corpse."
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, he needs him up in the building. Yeah, I mean, and overall, I mean, like there was just some cheesiness, like Jeeps, like guys, Jeeps exploding as guys running away, and they're jumping and running before the bomb.
Before the bomb, yeah, I noticed that too.
My
Just little
favorite,
things,
my favorite is there's two simultaneous explosions right in front of two tanks, and there's a soldier in the middle of the tanks, like out maybe 30 yards,
Yeah.
and probably 20 yards from the actual explosion,
Mm-hmm.
and he just falls to his knees, like and falls over.
Did
like,
you-
Nothing hit you.
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
you see the guy that literally got ran over?
Yes,
By
I
a
saw
tank?
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, this probably was on purpose, but on accident as well. But I
there was
guarantee,
plenty of room.
I guarantee you that actually happened in real life.
oh yeah.
That happened.
you
It
think he
happened.
died?
No.
It's a stunt guy.
It was a stunt guy, but I mean, he
Yeah, but you
didn't.
can't get run over by a tank.
No,
No,
he,
it
He
not
went
in the
between
middle.
the treads.
Oh, between the treads.
yeah, not underneath the treads.
Yeah, he
It
wasn't.
was-
I'm like, guys, listen, he may be a stunt guy.
It was definitely staged as a stunt guy because it's a camera shot that
Okay.
you see it happen.
Yeah.
Like, but tanks weigh a lot. Like, I don't think it's okay. I'm a stunt guy and just gets
They
run over by a tank.
they just ran over a mattress or two. It's fine.
No big deal.
That's some memory foam. You're good.
It's
You're
like
just,
a feather.
Just gonna mold into that.
Had a purple pillow. He's fine.
but
I just love you guys trying to. But he's a stunt guy. Like fuck, okay, that doesn't matter.
It's a stunt guy.
Yeah,
Camera
but,
trick.
Man.
yeah, but I mean, the camera. It was meant to roll over the camera, but the guy didn't. He probably didn't know the tank was behind him. And because he looked just as surprised as I did, because it's like, oh my god, there's a tank behind you.
He's like, whoa.
Yeah, he's like, whoa.
I'm sure he had to change his pants afterwards.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would. My god, if I wasn't supposed to actually get run over by a tank, and I did, I'd be like, holy crap. Okay, I need a breather.
Honey, you'd never believe what happened at work today.
But
Yeah.
you know what was pretty funny? And my wife was watching it with me. Well, maybe for the first. Through the first battle scene, then she lost interest.
Well, because that battle scene's like 30 minutes long.
It is pretty.
Or it feels.
It's a pretty long battle scene. But what was funny was when they were shooting the Thompsons, the sound effects of those weapons. They did not, obviously, like you were saying. You know, you got a problem with movies that are like early 70s.
Yeah.
They didn't really pay attention to sound design.
The finer points.
Yeah, like the things like gunfires and stuff like that. So a Thompson machine gun sounds just like an M1 Garand. Sounds just like a 1911. You know, they all go pew 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 pew. You know, type thing.
It got the Oscar for best sound.
Well, that's just back in
1970.
So I guarantee.
Who was it up against?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Gone with the Wind. Now again. That was like way earlier. But yeah, like she said, that sounds like a gunshot from Planet of the Apes.
Oh, and it probably was.
It probably was. It
probably
was
all recycled.
It was
from
probably
the
the
studio.
same canned audio from gunshots or some rifle.
I mean, they do that now.
But I'll say too, the earlier movies. There's some earlier movies like The Dirty Dozen, right? The Dirty Dozen's a pretty good war movie, and the sounds and stuff like that are pretty good. The war scenes that are in it are pretty good. It's almost okay. It's a matter of scale, and Patton, the movie Patton, relied on the scale of the war to have you sort of be like, oh my gosh, just look at it all, and not have you focus on the finer points.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like the Dirty Dozen is almost the opposite. The Dirty Dozen's like, we're gonna make this one shot or this one scene, seem really good. Like we're gonna do it as the best we can. Mm-hmm. I don't know which one's better necessarily. I think they both have their pros and cons, but I think because like the bullets hitting the walls and stuff, the squibs that they have going off in the movie, they're good. They're not. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just it was the killing itself, because that's the other thing too. 1970, there's like zero blood. There's no blood.
Right.
I mean, the whole fucking movie. There's people like bombs going off, people being blown up, and there's like
I think I saw a couple of guts and maybe a foot taken off there once.
I was going to say like those, like when they would do some like some painting shots of like aftermath or whatever.
Yeah, aftermath.
Yeah, those are some pretty decent like.
No, there was
CG or not CGI special effect.
Yeah,
like,
there was a guy with his leg buried in the sand, and then like horse or cow entrails spread across it. No, totally good. Very easy to create, and I get it. Yeah, there was some stuff like that was good. It's just I guess I'm just saying in the grand scheme, like.
I know what you're talking about, like, because there was one where there was an explosion, a guy, like, steps right on a mine, you know, and he falls forward, but there's, like, his uniform literally is... Untouched.
Yeah,
right. It's like he just got it cleaned.
No extremities.
Yeah.
Super
blown off.
But he goes, ugh, and he falls over.
That's why I asked for heavy starch. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it must have been. I mean, it's Kevlar starch. That's the only way he explains it. Jesus.
What's kind of, I thought it was kind of sad, even though it happened in real life. When, he was very gruff, and he's like, I don't want any wusses. I don't want any yellow bellies or whatever he called them, cowards. And I have more respect over a guy that got killed in war than I do that's crying to his mommy because he's shell shocked.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's war, whatever. But he slapped a kid with his gloves or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of sad during that time that that got back to the States and was causing all this negative PR for the military, and especially for him. Yeah. That he had to go out and like apologize.
That apology though was more, like, I would say more than half of an apology.
Oh,
slightly more than half an apology.
It was like, I'm sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah.
So
if you look at it today, though, I mean, if that happened today, it'd probably be even worse. That guy would be completely let go of it. Like he'd be
regardless
drum
of
out,
his
drum
regardless
out.
of his
He'd be
rank
court-martialed.
Regardless of his accomplishments, he'd be out of there. But interestingly, in real life, he actually slapped 2 guys.
Oh, nice.
At 2 different times.
Oh, and then after the second one, that's when he got in trouble?
That's whenever he got in trouble.
Okay.
Well, because they happened so close together that
Oh.
the report didn't get to Ike.
Oh no!
Before the next slapping incident.
So it sounded
like
it sounded like he is just going around slapping everybody.
Right.
So speaking of that, there was one part after, there was when the Nazis, they got, they intercepted details that he was being reprimanded for the slapping.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting that their take on it was, and you believe their media?
Yeah.
Why would they risk their best general to court-martial or whatever? And
or just take him off.
I was like,
of the 7th Army.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
And they're like, so what? So what? He slapped the guy.
Fake. It's fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, no, and I thought you had the guy who was the Patton historian on the Nazi side. I mean, people like that, they exist. I mean, you want to know your enemy kind of thing. And there was a respect that he was paying to Patton that I thought was it was well done without him actually saying, I respect Patton very, very much.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you talking about the photo in the fire pit?
There was that, but just the whole thing. You could just tell that he had studied the guy so much. You know what it reminds me of is like Hunt for Red October. You have Alec Baldwin respecting Sean Connery on this like next level, and he does eventually say it in Hunt for Red October, but for the whole movie up until he says it, he's just sort of implying like, well, no, you have to understand he's this type of guy. He's this type of guy. He wouldn't do that. He's this type of guy. The whole movie. And in Patton, they never even get to the description, or he never was to say, like, blatantly says, I respect Patton very much, but at the same time, you could tell that it was there.
Well, it just shows to his knowledge of him.
Yeah, his knowledge, but I think it was more. I think he respected him.
Oh yeah,
lot. I think
it was
he respected him as a
definitely
general,
mutual respect for him
as a
himself,
person. As a general, I should say. Yeah. So
I love it. The Ruskies don't take a dump without a plan.
Yeah.
Red October. Talk about kind of like cheesy line, but
there was a lot of talking about the Russians. By the way, that was one thing I think they played up fairly well in the movie, was the alignment between not between Patton and the Nazis, like they were working together, but just some of the things that Patton was saying and that he would later say the Nazis were also saying. You know what I mean? And there was like I don't know, there was like them saying why would they sideline their best general, like that type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. That was the same way Patton thought. Right. We should do it this way. Well, the reason why Patton was a good match for Rommel is because Patton and Rommel had similar strategies. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because I read your book, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
that was a great line.
That was a great line.
Too bad it was inaccurate.
Oh, really?
Was
it? Don't ruin my...
Yeah, sorry.
I will watch Patton like it was him himself.
My truth.
What did he actually say?
Well, see, Rommel didn't actually finish his book before Hitler killed him.
So was Rommel unbridged? On a bridge?
Yeah.
On a bridge.
Yeah, so there's no way that no way General Patton could have
actually
read his book.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that line was thrown in there.
That's a good script.
The book called the Unfinished Rommel.
The Unfinished.
Yeah, I forget what it was called. Something like Tank something.
It's
from
his...
it was something Tank. It was Tank Strategy.
Tanks and boobies.
The book he wrote is a diary, is what it is.
Rommel's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so is Patton, and I've read. We're getting into like more Patton history, but I've read about half. It's a big book. I've read about half of War as I Knew It.
Oh yeah.
Which is a collection. It was published posthumously.
Okay.
By his wife and along with a few authors, and it's a collection of Patton's writings, both letters to her and some poetry that he wrote and all that. But it gives you real insight into him as a person because of how he puts things.
Yeah.
And how he did the first quarter of the book, it seems like, is talking about Morocco and how pompous things are in the king's court and
yet he seemed to like it
and all
at the
that
beginning
stuff.
of the movie.
He
seemed to like it. Yeah,
it's like, I wish our men looked like that.
What did he say? It was like a mix of something in Hollywood. It was a mix of
Morocco.
Yeah, but no, he said it was a mix of
Morocco itself.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It was something in Hollywood.
Something in Hollywood.
So talking about the pompous aspect of it. Yeah.
But I mean, he obviously didn't want to be there.
No,
because he was not a diplomat.
And bringing up Morocco too, by the way, this is a small issue I have with the movie because this is very common in all old movies, right? Mm-hmm. But everyone in Morocco that had a key part maybe was the wrong ethnicity to play that part. Just gonna say, like the guy who's giving him the necklace at the very beginning, the medal or whatever, is very Caucasian from Morocco.
He was a white dude.
He was a white dude wearing like some kind of like sultan's outfit or something, and only the people in the parade actually made sense for Morocco. And I was like, well, this is awkward. Like, so you mean to tell me that's the army? And
well, that actor's name is John Smith.
Is it really?
No, I don't know.
It could be more like John Hurt.
Speaking of credits, the kid who gets slapped is labeled the soldier who gets slapped. Like nice. He did, like they didn't actually give him a name of any soldier or something like that.
They should just call him Coward. Private Coward.
Or he was a corporal, I believe.
Corporal Coward.
I think that's what that one chevron was.
Okay. So John, what did you? So was it? I mean, looking at it from a critical standpoint, like did you think it was the same level as the times you've watched it to just enjoy it, or did you put it through a more critical eye?
No, I did put it through a more critical eye, but I did catch myself getting lost in it.
Oh, okay.
Like I usually do.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it basically, and I'll say this in my final thoughts too. But it's kind of this movie always gives me a feeling of a call to action.
Okay.
Like it's one of those like
you want to go out and fight Nazis?
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know what? I'm a patriot too. Damn it! I need to go do something.
Oh yeah. You know? I mean the opening scene, it definitely it made me want to pick up a rifle and go kill some Nazis.
I gotcha.
And did you guys see that that at the beginning, because there was nothing at the beginning of the film except for it starts out as
there's no opening
Patton's
credits.
Speech. Did you guys see that for while it was in the theater, that servicemen who were watching the film actually thought it was a real call to attention?
So because it says Tin Hut is the very first words.
So they would actually get up.
That's funny.
In the theater.
Interesting.
Thinking it was real.
Oh, wow. I mean, if it was kind of ingrained in you to do that, it's like when you hear that, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I gotta go. Gotta get up.
It was kind of like when he was walking through the African headquarters, like when they were changing hands of who's in charge.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody was just like,
it's all casual.
And he just... Yeah, the guy that was on the floor.
Yes. Who's kicking me in the ass? Oh. He's like, what are you doing, soldier?
He's like,
I'm taking a nap. Yeah. Trying to take a nap, sir. You ought to run this outfit. You're the only one that seems to know what the hell he's doing.
Well, I think he tells him to get back to it.
Yeah, he goes, get back to it.
Yeah, he's like, shit, what's the word? He says continue on or something like that. He's like, carry on. He's like, carry on. You're the only one who seems to know what he's doing. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus. That's pretty funny.
So apparently this was the first PG-rated film to win Best Picture.
Yeah, but you know what was kind of interesting is during the credits it said this was rated mature.
During the credits?
Maybe, yeah, the credits actually said this is rated M for mature.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's like this, the MPAA, rated this as
maybe
M.
in the 70s, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it got re-rated.
Maybe.
Down the road.
Well, and it actually won 7 Oscars.
Dang.
Yeah, it won, like Dustin said, Best Pictures and Best Picture.
Let's go to the pictures, John.
It also won Best Actor, Director, Writing and Screenplay based on factual material, Best Art Direction, Best Sound, and Best Editing.
Interesting.
But George C. Scott refused the Best Actor award.
Well, you refused it?
He refused it because he felt that competition among actors was, quote, unfair and a meat parade.
Oh, okay.
A meat parade sounds delicious, by the way.
but apparently George C. Scott's disdain for Hollywood and the insider Hollywood scene was well known. According to Roger Ebert, that it was a foregone conclusion that if he won, he wasn't going to accept.
So he was like that generation's Viggo Mortensen then.
What did Vigo do?
I don't know. He just seems like somebody who doesn't play the whole Hollywood game. Like he's like a cowboy on it, like in his own time. He like owns land. He's like a cowboy and shit. Like
Well, remember what's his name?
Ranger.
Well, yeah.
What's his name? Didn't accept.
Marlon Brando.
Yes, Marlon
Jesus
Brando.
Christ.
Yeah.
Because Marlon Brando, he sent a Native American lady
Right
to accept the award
for
him, but basically give a pro Native American speech because of how they were treated by the U.S.
I probably have a weird view though of award shows. Like I don't like I love movies. I hate awards. I hate that they give them awards. I hate that we put them on a pedestal. I hate everything about that whole thing.
It's
you
like,
and George C. Scott would have gotten along.
Yeah.
At least in that.
Yeah.
Like, yay, look at me, pat on the back. Woohoo.
Well, it's not just that. It's like, okay, we need to feed the homeless. We need to take care of everyone on the earth. Let me walk down this red carpet real fast in a dress that if I was to say, we're going to auction this dress off tonight for not only the cost of the dress, but me wearing it, we could probably feed at least one, if not two, small villages in Africa.
And they get gift baskets for everyone who presents
with like $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 worth of shit.
Worth of stuff. Yeah.
Ugh. I just that whole town, man, that whole place just burned to the ground. I'd be like, we can make movies in Atlanta, right? We can still do that.
Well,
one of the cheapest places right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of money and all that stuff that they give away, what do you guys think the budget was for this movie?
Oh shit, it's got to be huge.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Movie.
Just in tank rental alone to run over stunt guys.
Now hold on, I did see some trivia about this. Those were actually borrowed from the Spanish army.
Really?
So they weren't paid for.
The majority.
So think
borrowed.
about that in your budget decision.
Bunch of Spanish people,
But
Spanish tanks driving around.
But
with Nazi
most of the
symbols on
budget
them.
was used to rent all of those tanks and the uniforms.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay. Well, you guys ready to
It's a
throw
war
out
movie.
guesses?
I thought they were given in kind donation to them.
No, I think they rented it. Yeah,
Okay.
We
Well-
Spaniards don't give away things like that.
Yeah.
especially to Americans.
No.
No, hell no.
So you're saying
Budget. Man.
Yes.
So
So what do you
anybody
think?
have an idea?
it's
gotta be big,
$1970.
Yeah, I guess it says estimated, so I'm assuming it's $1970.
I'm gonna say $50 million.
Okay.
I was gonna go with 20 million.
Okay.
I'm going to take the $70 million. I'm going to take the high road.
We're gonna take the high road. Wow, it was done for an estimated $12 million.
Holy crap.
Estimated. So I don't know how true that
They
is.
didn't rent those tanks.
Maybe not. Maybe they just paid for fuel. But
You know what though? What if, just a thought, what if all of those war scenes were all shot like the same week, borrowing tanks?
Well, they're probably all the same tanks, and
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if they did it smart,
you would have to.
I mean,
I guess you'd have to.
They use the same
technically.
planes
Yeah.
to raid or bomb any convoy. They use the same two bombers.
Yeah, and if you got all your actors other than your main actors to be walk-on volunteers, which is possible, which would totally explain why one of them almost got run over by a tank. And
He's a stuntman, Eddie.
well,
He's a stuntman,
and
he's
also
fine.
your mine guy who just kind of sort of falls and does it. He's in a perfectly starched out outfit. I mean, I could see making it maybe for that amount. That also explains your shitty camera work, John. So I mean, that makes sense.
They
was
used
a-
every bit of footage that they could.
Yeah,
There was
Yes,
a
to make
lot of extras in this movie.
that's what I'm saying. But if if they were unpaid extras, that they were just like, hey, you want to be part of an epic war movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5 a day.
So they
Welcome.
They don't have listed here on IMDb on the opening weekend, but they just have the gross cumulative worldwide gross
So
money made.
up until now.
I guess so. I gotta look at and see how they actually make that number, because that'd be kind of interesting. Is it like something that's based off of like DVD sales or rental sales on iTunes still?
Yeah, and then streaming sales.
Yeah,
and,
is
who
it
knows?
constantly going up because people are renting it or whatever?
It's possible. What
But
guess
yeah,
you got, John?
cumulative worldwide gross.
Man, I mean, if we're talking from 70 till now.
Yeah, 50 years.
The $200 million.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
It's a good guess.
John's looking at me like, you're an idiot.
I'm going to say 150 million.
150.
I'm going low, 100.
Okay, well, I guess Eddie's closest because it made a cumulative worldwide gross of $61,749,000.
Man, I was going to say 70 million.
So that's got to
too.
be theater
Just
run
kidding.
worldwide then.
No. There's no way. There's no way they made $70 million in 1970.
Yeah,
going theater worldwide.
Not just theaters now.
Yeah,
it's got to be
if you did DVDs and
or actually
Blu-ray.
This was the first movie to be released on VHS.
Yes, it was. Well, yeah.
Well, one of the
first three.
Yeah. Which I mean, VHS back in the 1970s. That was
no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. But it is VHS.
And it had to be 3 VHSs. No,
back then, VHS was RHD.
I get it.
You know what? It probably was. It was probably shipped in 2 VHS tapes. 2 boxes. Just because it was split into 2
That was the worst.
scenes.
That was the worst part about long movies back in the day with VHS is you had to rewind the first one and then watch this and then rewind this. Ugh. Yeah. So much rewinding.
It's like when you get into intermission, it's like, please switch tapes.
But they could have put it on instead of they could have put it on SP instead of EP.
Yeah,
or EP instead of SP, which will turn a 2-hour tape into a 6-hour tape.
Yeah, but the quality would drop.
Yeah,
just get trashed.
But could you tell?
Probably not.
I could.
It
looked blurrier
on a 15-inch tube television. Nah.
Right. The 25-inch console TV.
Yeah. No.
Another $200 to put it on wheels for you.
Oh God.
Shit. Remember Blockbuster? Just going down memory lane. Remember they used to rent that automatic rewinder thing.
Yeah. We had one. We bought it. We bought one and had one at our house.
Oh, how time has changed.
Like a car.
They were like $25. They weren't super expensive, but
highfalutin Eddie over there.
Well, we had.
Well, it was very common for VCRs to. I know it's before your time, Kyle. It was very common for VCRs to the rewind button. The rewind functionality would break.
It was slow too.
And then rather than get them fixed,
these things were like high speed rewind.
I always was very afraid of pressing that rewind button and like the noise that it made. Because the VCRs that I had, it's like we didn't need high speed rewind machines from Blockbuster. Every VCR that I had at least had a very, very fast rewind, and I literally thought that the film or the tape was just going to snap off that plastic because it was just held on by Scotch tape.
Yeah, after you find a certain part of a movie and you rewind and play, and then rewind and play, and then rewind and play over and over, just a certain part, it did start to wear out after a while.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the need for the rewind machine, by the way, we had, I'm going to ballpark the number of VHS that we had at our house, but I'm going to say around 1,200, maybe 1,500 VHS at one point at our house. We had whole walls.
I was about to say, that's like a whole room full of
VHS. We had a whole shitload at one point.
My grandpa took full advantage of the EP functionality and the record functionality. My
grandparents did, and so did my dad. Yeah.
And what he would do, he would record on EP, and he could get three movies, and he would take. Remember the TV guide came in the paper.
Yep, and
right. And he would cut out. He would figure it out, right, and he would actually sit on a stool right by the VCR, and he wouldn't record the commercials. So as soon as a commercial popped up, he'd hit pause.
Yeah,
and then when it came back on, he'd hit record again.
It was first gen pirating. Yeah, is what it was.
Yeah. The movie industry was like super worried about that happening.
Yeah, they used to have the FBI thing at the beginning.
They tried to lobby against
they
VCR.
did. Well, yeah, they did. They sued and lost.
Yeah, I just love to know how they ever because they always had that thing at the beginning, like it's a crime to steal movies, etc. So I never figured out how the hell they would know if you stole a movie off the tapes. It's not like the tape was. I mean, it was.
It's not about that. It's about the distribution of it.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
And actually selling that VHS.
It almost seemed like a waste of money just to even put the damn thing at the beginning of that. Because if they had copied it, how would you know? How would you know that somebody stole a VHS from back in the day?
Until you find a pallet full of ripped Patton movies.
So
go to New York; they're all there.
So to finish up with that, we had those VHS. Storage units.
Yep, the slots. Yeah,
the sliders, the drawers. Right. Yeah. We had 30 of those.
Yeah.
In the house, and with like 3 movies each. I mean, I had the Monkeys VHS tape that you paid, and all that. Gilligan's Island. I had a VHS of those.
Yeah, my dad did the same thing. Anything he didn't buy, we would do the 3 movies on one thing, and you learn how to do it. You probably don't. I don't know if you ever did this, Kyle, but I mean, it was like you'd sit there and watch TV, and a show would start, and you're like, "Oh shit, I want to record this one." So you'd grab a tape, and you'd miss like the first 4 seconds, 5 seconds, sometimes more if you didn't know the show was coming on.
I hardly recorded TV shows or movies.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
My parents did it, but
Yeah,
I never did it.
Oh, I remember even I took it over to cassettes too, watching like with music.
With music, yes, I've done that.
You listen to the radio.
Listen to the radio, yeah.
Sexual
You hear.
Yeah.
Eddie's mixtape.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
UB40 and sexual healing with Marvin Gaye and stuff. Yep.
Well, before we get into the Rotten Tomatoes things, there was one more trivia about Patton, just to bring it back real quick, that I thought was kind of interesting. Did you know? Did you guys know that he was in the 1912 Summer Olympics?
No,
I did know
Patton
this.
was.
I did know this.
I had no idea.
He was a runner.
He participated in the pentathlon.
Yeah, the modern day pentathlon. So I have the results of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting.
Let me see if I can remember.
So just so everybody knows, the pentathlon incorporates the events of shooting, swimming, fencing, equestrian riding, and general athletics.
Wow.
General athletics?
Yeah, athletics.
Doing squats, jump rope.
Probably.
Oh, calisthenics?
Probably.
Push-ups.
Now all I can do is picture.
Remember, 1912.
I was going to say, now all I can do is picture him like the old-timey.
Exactly. Those like one suit.
Barbell guys.
With the handlebar mustache.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Still bald.
Yeah.
So in shooting, he came in 20th.
Jesus.
Out of how many people? Do you have that number?
32.
Okay. Well, kind of run of the mill.
Yeah. Kind of in the center
Below
around
average.
Lower end.
Yeah, below average.
I mean, I don't want to
Tank commander.
I don't want to assume that any of us in here could do better, but you know.
But this dude's carrying around 6 shooters.
Yeah, that's true.
24/7.
Was this before his graduation of West Point or no?
1912. So I'm not really sure. So the next event, swimming, he came in 7th.
Okay.
And then the next event, fencing, 4th.
How many people? Well, they're
All 32.
They all,
they all competed. Yeah.
So he's better at fencing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Equestrian riding, 6th,
Okay.
Nice.
and athletics, 3rd.
Wow.
So that
Nice.
puts him at overall 5th in the whole.
Nice.
Right.
Dang. Didn't get a medal. Damn.
I'd love to know.
Nope.
I'd love to know which.
It was
Sword.
Sweden. The first 4 were all Swedish.
Wow.
No. I was going to say in terms of
yeah.
fencing. I was wondering what weapon he fenced with. If he was foil,
That's a good
saber,
question.
epee.
I'm not sure.
If it was a pentathlon,
Well,
I'm assuming it was the foil.
You should be able to find that because he actually taught fencing while he was attending. I don't know if he was attending West Point or the college that he went.
Oh, okay.
But beforehand, but he actually taught fencing at the college.
I would
Had no idea.
I would assume it's the foil because saber wouldn't make any sense for a pentathlon like that, and epee is kind of a very specific weapon. It's basically it's like a no rules weapon when it comes to fencing. Like you can't hit him with the hilt or anything like that. But I mean, you know,
Just
your,
anyway, you
your
can't
whole
knock-
body is
you
a
can't knock
target.
him out.
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. Whereas foil, it's the traditional fencing sport. So you know, basically your crotch and upper body, not including your arms or your head, count in foil. So it's essentially a chest weapon.
Just made for what? Stabbing?
Yeah,
Stabbing in
just
the
stabbing.
chest.
Saber is a slashing weapon.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, you can actually stick somebody with it and still win the point. And then epee is not a slashing weapon; it's a strictly point weapon. But your whole body is a target, like your feet, top of your head doesn't matter, like your whole body,
Like in real life?
like in real life. Yeah, I like epee personally. I like
Sure.
it, but it is it's the same way I like billiards. I like 9-ball because the rules are more lax. You can just. So the rule is I win. That's the rule. Like just go for winning. I can do that. The minute you started setting up a shit ton of parameters, I'm like, this isn't for me. Like, let's be honest.
You wouldn't like Russian pool then?
No, probably not.
But since we talked about that, I do want to bring up one thing because I was actually before this week I was wrong in. I didn't realize I was wrong in it. How Patton died.
Oh yeah.
You know, actually, I don't know how he died.
How did he die?
Did he? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Really? Well, I always thought he died as a result of a car accident.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was told.
Okay.
Well, technically yes, but that isn't actually what killed him.
Okay.
Coronavirus.
Oh dear.
Too soon?
Too soon.
Sorry.
That's funny. Makes sense.
Sorry.
But no, on December 21st, 1945,
yes,
he died from a lung embolism due to being in a body cast after breaking his neck in a car accident on December 10th, 1945.
Oh, that's horrible.
Just 7 months and 3 days after the Nazis surrendered to the Allies.
Wow. It was that early? Or that
and
soon?
Yeah, and what happened was he actually contracted pneumonia, and the doctors didn't know he had pneumonia.
Yeah, because he was in a body cast.
So in the scene of the movie Patton, did that scene where the wagon was unleashed and then he was like, what the...
That cart?
Yeah, it's like, that'd be kind of shitty if I died from that, instead of actually dying in war or something like that. But it was kind of foreshadowing.
Almost, yeah.
I've heard that's true, that happened.
Yeah.
But I don't...
I've heard that's true as well.
Oh, wow. So I guess death was... kind of knocking on his door.
Well, you got to get him reincarnated for the next war.
That's true.
Let's be honest
right?
here.
And one more thing I do want to point out, and I didn't know this until recently. There's a follow-up movie,
Patton 2: The Revenge.
Patton movie called The Last Days of Patton, where George C. Scott reprises his role as Patton.
Okay.
And the movie goes through Patton's last few months and the efforts to save his life, along with flashbacks of his time in World War One.
Okay.
Where he was a fledgling tank commander.
Huh.
So it's not Patton 2: The Electric Boogaloo?
No, it's not Patton 2. No.
Because that would be great. Sorry. I'd go see Patton 2: Electric Boogaloo. I think that'd be awesome.
How did Rotten Tomatoes let's
let's go with the audience first. What do you think out of 100%?
So the audience, I'm gonna rate it. Audience gave it a 75.
80.
Oh, jeez. 81, Bob.
How many Oscars did you say this one?
7.
7? Okay. 93%.
Well, audience? Holy cow.
Really?
Yeah.
I won Penny John.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
$1 bobbed.
Dang.
Coward.
You coward.
Well, what about the critics then?
Well, I mean, the critics has got to be really high. I'm going to say 98%.
95. 96, Bob.
Actually, 96, Bob.
Should have went the other way. 94.
Oh, damn it.
Man. Dang.
Yeah, so 94% for the critics and 93. So, yeah, very, very high scores.
Undermined by my own wench.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, this is a very epic movie, and everybody kind of knows about it. If not, then you may not be interested in war films. Then, if you are into war films, you've heard about Patton, and you've probably watched it. So
Yeah.
So, John, what's your verdict?
Okay, so I always go to Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
And I
What
say
did the Ebe say?
Well, he gave it 4 stars.
Okay. Kind of like 4-star general. Got it.
Right.
Ebe.
He praised the movie.
It's so close to being wrong. What'd the Ebe say? What? Silent H. What? Jesus. I know we're talking about Nazi movies, but good Lord.
So he gave it 4 stars. He praised the movie in large part due to George C. Scott's acting.
Okay.
And he says the film is nearly 3 hours long, with George C. Scott, where George C. Scott is on screen for most of that time, when we are not seeing battle scenes or Nazi planners, always speculating about Patton. It is one of those sublime performances in which the personalities of the actor and the character are fulfilled in one another. Although the role was offered to other actors who were bigger stars, critic Tom Dirks lists Burt Lancaster, Rod Steiger, Lee Marvin, Robert Mitchum, and John Wayne, it is unimaginable without Scott.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that Rod Steiger passed. He was like, nah.
I couldn't really see Robert Mitchum playing Patton.
Right?
I believe Steger was anti-war, so that's why he passed.
Is that why he passed? But my thoughts are, I love this film despite errors in equipment and incorrect references to ancient battles.
Jesus Christ!
Sound like James May over there.
Right?
Yeah.
My thoughts are similar to how Mr. Holland's Opus makes me want to tickle the ivory, and how Justin wants to be a pool shark after watching The Color of Money. Patton strikes at the heart and gives us a call to be the best, win at all costs, and above all, love what you do. I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Nice.
8.5. I think that's the highest score you've given.
It probably is.
Probably, yeah. That sounds about right.
Eddie?
So I feel a little differently about it. I don't dislike the movie. I've never disliked the movie. Like I said, the most I ever watched it before was the first half, and it's not a bad movie by any means. I think it does a good job of feeling pretty modern for being a 1970s movie. Like late 60s, I should say, early 70s. It's before the 70s modern movie started.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So it does a good job of sort of bridging the divide between being a classic old movie and then
it still had some of those film tactics of
earlier. It still feels like a play.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I don't like. Like, I don't like that it feels like a play in parts that I wish that it didn't. There are some times that it steps over, like whenever he gets let go or they knock him down or something. They tell him he's not going to be the general of the campaign anymore, and there's that long hallway and he's standing by the window and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
I thought that was a really cool shot. I thought that shot in particular was nice.
It made him look very
introspective.
Small.
It was a great shot. That was great. But then there's a whole lot of, I didn't like the one-liner type stuff. It's just little things, you know what I mean, for the most part. But it was enough to sort of put me off a little bit. I would say that it's definitely worth watching. It's sort of like Citizen Kane in a lot of ways. Like, you may not like Citizen Kane after you watch it, but I don't know how you can be like, oh, I love movies, and then not watch Citizen Kane at least once in your life. I just don't know how you can do that.
Yeah.
I would say that this movie, for me anyway, is probably a solid 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah, so, I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. I do, by kind of proxy, I guess, like the 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon type thing, or how many degrees is it? Is it 7?
6 degrees.
Okay, sorry, 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. My wife's great uncle served in the Third Army under Patton. And he was part of the 38th Cavalry, which is a reconnaissance division.
Did he get slapped?
No, he did not get slapped. He was not one of the ones that got slapped.
He wasn't a coward.
One of the stories that he did tell Sophia was it was a time where he was out scouting for the enemy, scouting for the Nazis in Germany, and or in France. I think it was in France. But Patton came up in his Jeep, and he was like, "Hey, the hell are you doing over here?" And he's like, "I'm scouting for the enemy." And he's like, "Well, you're looking in the wrong direction. I know where they're at. They're over here." Which sounds like Patton. He's like, "I know where the enemy is. I can smell them a mile away," type thing. And so he got to ride in a Jeep with Patton.
That's pretty fun.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Back to the battlefield or whatever. But with that, I mean, I'm going to score this an 8.1.
8.1.
Before you go, Justin, I want to say one thing. To follow up on that, I read something actually today that I did not know. Apparently, at one point, Patton disobeyed orders, as he kind of always could. He did quite often.
Didn't do that.
But he thought that Hitler was in a certain location close to him.
Oh,
so he took a small group of men and was like, "Okay, let's go. We're gonna go." Right, and he goes over there because he wanted to be the one. He was like, "Yeah, well, if he's there, we're just gonna capture him and we're gonna end the war, right?"
Sure.
So he goes over. He's not there, and they come back. He goes, "Never speak of this."
Oh no,
that's awesome.
It's like, don't you say anything to anybody about.
I like that.
Whoops. Was it like just a total like nobody was
Nobody was there.
Oh God,
it was nothing.
just some French farmers.
We?
What were they on swings?
We?
That's what the French do.
So Justin, would you?
And smoking their cigarettes.
Sorry, Justin. I had to get that story up.
No, this is a good movie. I believe like one of the first times I saw it was with you. I think you and I both watched it a long time ago. And I enjoyed it back then. I do think that the runtime is a little long.
Yeah, I agree.
It's I think we said it. We quoted it one of the other episodes where Hitchcock said, the length of a film should be directly proportional with the human bladder or whatever it is.
Well, there's an intermission.
Yeah, and that's when I went to go pee.
Yeah, I think the first time we watched it, you're like, intermission.
Yeah,
he's like, how long is it? I'm like, well, I can pause it.
But Eddie, I'm with you. Like, this is like one of those movies you got to watch before you die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like Citizen Kane. yeah, my only criticism really is at the runtime and some of the things that we talked about with the
slightly cheesy,
cheesy stuff and all that. But
which is kind of be expected. Like that's why I'm not trying to shit on it too hard, because I mean it is kind of to be expected. I mean it's it's an early movie. It's hard to hard to make some of that stuff still happen.
So I'm gonna give this like an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, just a solid 8 for that. So that means that 1970 war film Patton gets a 7.9.
Nice.
Out of all that,
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Like to me that I think that overall it definitely hits enough high points with what it does do well, because movies like that especially are rooted in the characters. Right. And the characters in this movie, especially Bradley, I think Bradley sold it really well. I think having the actual Bradley as a consultant probably helped, because the guy's, well, he's on set. Let me just fucking talk to him and see. So what would you have done here? Like what did I think that helped. But overall, I think the characters really made the whole movie, and the war piece, which I think John pointed out earlier, becomes a backdrop. I just don't know if they meant for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like to have as many war scenes as they have, it seems like they wanted it to be a war movie, but then they become sort of a backdrop to this.
It becomes a character study.
Yes, exactly.
Which is one of my biggest draws with it. I like the story of Patton and all that.
Yeah.
So we basically just have you and I left, Eddie.
Yep. And we're gonna battle to the death to figure out who gets it. You ready?
Fence.
Well, if it's fencing, my money's on Eddie.
Yeah.
Hey,
me too.
Hey, finally a point where people are willing to bet on me. It only took 38 years.
It's because you've taken fencing classes and you have the fencing gear. So
that's a good point.
And something I found interesting about this dynamic here is since we've started doing this podcast, you've been wanting sci-fi.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting Western. And it's now down to us two, mano a mano.
So you're going to get it.
So I think you're going to get Western and I'm going to get sci-fi.
I agree. I think it's your pick today, though, and it's going to be sci-fi.
Yeah.
Let's see, though.
All right.
Let's go, John.
Let's roll.
Who's picking?
All right, here we go.
I'm picking. Justin.
Ding, ding, ding. It's
so sad.
I know.
Who's it?
Jetty, it's Eddie.
Oh,
hey.
I was not ready.
Jetty.
Because I thought it was Justin. Okay, let's see what we get.
Always be ready.
Better not take my
All right.
Western.
Here we
It's gonna be
go.
Western.
Here we go.
Western or sci-fi? Here we go.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, come on.
Western.
Oh,
Told you.
the wheel of fate has spoken.
We can just sit and stare at each other for a minute, Justin. That's all it'll take now. So I guess what I'm going to go with is The Warrior's Way from 2010. It is a slightly off-kilter Western.
Okay.
I have a synopsis here if you want me to.
Yeah, read it for me.
I've never seen this movie.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. A warrior assassin is forced to hide in a small town in the American Badlands after refusing a mission. That's
vague.
That's very vague.
That's a Western?
It's a Western.
I guess Badlands, maybe.
IMDb listed as action fantasy Western. It's rated R. It's 140 minutes.
It's definitely fantasy.
Who's in it?
No one you've ever heard of.
Yeah. Dong Gung Jang
Oh, yeah, that guy. No,
Yeah.
I have no idea who that is.
and Katie Bosworth.
No idea.
Nope.
Yeah.
You know Katie Bosworth. She was in
I'll have to see.
she was in Blue Crush. She was
Oh.
the young blonde girl in Blue
Jeffrey
Crush.
Rush is in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's
And Danny
yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Oh. All right. Well, there's some
couple
people.
people.
in there.
Yeah.
Is it an independent film?
No.
Oh.
It was one of those that flew under the radar, possibly deservedly so. But
Yeah, I mean, it was 2010, right?
yeah, it's kind of
Wow.
a strange Western. That's the thing. Like
Okay.
I remember it. I watched it at least 3 times, and it's a strange Western, but it's definitely a Western.
Does it have sci-fi in it?
Technically, no.
Okay.
Well, because it's fantasy, right?
Yeah.
So there's some fantastical things that happen in it that
Sure.
are sort of bending the rules of science, making
Gotcha.
it thus science fiction. But it's not a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
by
Well,
any means.
I was just making a joke since you really wanted science fiction.
Well,
so
I mean,
kind of like
you guys missed that boat, so my next wild card will be a science fiction.
There you
so.
go.
All right,
Yeah.
so the next movie we're going to review is The Warrior's Way from 2010. If you want to see it, you can probably go to realgood.com. That's REEL, realgood.com. Just search for it, and it'll tell you all the places that you can stream it. And then one more mention that we're taking submissions for the Season 1 wrap-up show. The submission deadline is December 11th at 10 p.m. You can go to either our Facebook and just post up there.
Yeah, be sure you like the page too.
Yeah, like the page.
Yeah, like the page and find that post that that lovely John posted, and spew out your 3 movies that you want us to put on the list.
Yeah, you can do 1, 2, or 3. Don't do more than that for me.
Up to 3.
Yeah, up to 3. Or if you don't want to post on the Facebook, if you're not a social media fan like I am not, you can do it through our website. So AmericanPodcasting. .net and click on Screen Riot, click on contact us, and then you can submit the form there.
Cool.
And then we will, on our last show, we will put all of the submissions on a wheel. We'll spin it, and whoever movie gets picked, they'll win a free Screen Riot t-shirt.
Yeah.
And we'll get
it's pretty awesome.
We'll contact you and get your size and all that, and shipping address and all that, and we'll send you one. And then that review will air on December 19th.
Cool.
That's the last show of season 1.
That's
the last show.
That's right.
Of season 1.
We are wrapping up season 1.
Just like a TV show.
Yes.
And season 2 will be better, and we end up on a cliffhanger.
Hopefully.
Season 2, Electric Boogaloo. That's what we're going to call it.
We have to.
I like it.
All right, so thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, see you guys.
Later.